figured that out, that one day woke up and said, there's got to be a connection that's much more authentic than where I'm at. And you begin to connect. But there was a knowledge of God that came down that became so powerful that you were willing to give up everything that you had to obtain that knowledge. You were willing to, in some cases, you lose your job, you lose your money, you could lose friends, you could lose family over this one issue. And it has to be a pretty good reason. You must have found some pretty valuable treasure that would cause you to want to do this. Because other than that, I'm going to give you the words of Rabbi Ari Abrimowitz. Ari Abrimowitz sat with me the first time I told him where I was going. I was still in the Iglesia. And he said, you need your head checked. I said, why? He goes, because nobody in their right mind does this. Well, no, it was very like, I was like, are you serious? He goes, no. He said, well, look, he says, I'm joking, but really, you should go visit a therapist first. Because where you're going, what you're getting ready to do is monumental, and it's just too much. I'm not sure that you should do this. Now, obviously, he was very encouraging after that and has continued to be a very encouraging person in my life. But the point is, when you taste of the knowledge of God that God gives for those who seek after Him, there's no words to describe the beauty and the value behind that. Someone asked one day if would I ever consider not divorcing myself from this knowledge, and it would just be impossible. How would you divorce yourself from the knowledge of God, especially after now? You can't do it.
It'd be easier to cut your hand off.
It would be much easier. That's what it says. If I forget Jerusalem, may our right hand forget what it's about to do. So thank God that when we read this parsha and we read how God says that the patriarchs knew me as El Shaddai, which, in reality, when we see the word El Shaddai, it's about God being omnipresent. They discovered God. They understood that He was complete. Now, we often will quote the word El Shaddai, meaning He takes care of all of my problems, right? That's one explanation. But it's more than that. It's more than El Shaddai, make sure I have a paycheck in my wallet every week. It's more than that. It's the patriarchs understood that everything exists because He is. The patriarchs discovered that though God said, this is the land I will give you, they had to scratch and fight for every inch to keep it. Abraham had to pay a lot of money to make sure that his wife and his ancestors were to be buried in that cave. His children. They discovered and knew God as the one who was sufficient and complete in what He said He would do. But they never saw the promise that God said that your children will inherit the land. None of them. However, the children of Israel had to find themselves, before they could experience redemption, they had to be in captivity. And I think that's the sort of the weird thing about this is that you really can't appreciate freedom until you've been in jail for a while. You can't really appreciate being fit until you've been unfit for most of your life. You really can't appreciate having good health until you've had bad health in your life. And you can talk about it all you want, but if you haven't gone through that, you don't know. It's like someone who's lost a son or a daughter. Think about this. I've never lost a son or a daughter. Thank God. For me to stand and say, I know how you feel, is foolish, because I don't know how they feel. And at the same time, we look in our walk with God, we sort of, in our journey with God, begin to plug into the source that God intended for the nations to plug into. And that was the Jewish knowledge of God. Not the Buddhist, not the Christian, not the Hindu, but the Jewish knowledge of God. It's always been there the whole time. We've danced around it. We've told stories from the book. And we never tapped into the very divine knowledge that God had intended for us to have until today. So what is God doing in this day? What He's doing, I don't understand on the mystical level. I can only tell you on the practical level. Now, there are great students of the Kabbalah and the Zohar that can explain to you about the divine sparks that from Adam were scattered throughout all the world and the nations. And at the end of days, they're being gathered up and they're being fanned, the flame of that spark has been fanned, and great fires of holiness is rising up in redemption. Oh, that's great. All I can tell you is people like yourselves will call me and say, the craziest thing happened. And then they start explaining that they were missionaries in the Philippines. As a matter of fact, his wife studied atheism. She said that didn't work. I figured that out real quick. And then finally he said, we came across your videos. Then we came across Rabbi Singer's videos. Then we came across Rabbi Skobach's videos. All of a sudden something just caught fire, and I can't explain it. But we're here. What do we do? And I'm thinking, wow, join the rest of us who are here doing the same thing. And this is about the evident sign that God is still in the business of revealing Himself to the world. And if you want to know Hashem, the only reason why one does not know Hashem is because you have not sought after Hashem. The prophet Jeremiah says that if you seek Him with your whole heart, He shall be found. Pretty simple. Seek. Find. You observe, whatever you seek, that's what you get. And I am so thankful to Hashem that He's put us in this position to be able to study the Torah, to be able to encourage other people to know that God is still in the business of parting out His divine knowledge to the nations. And it is through the study of Torah that we really begin to know who God is. And it's through the study of Torah that we begin to understand His attributes and His essence. It is through the study of Torah that we find ourselves being elevated to a much higher level. It is an amazing thing to listen to a lecture, and when you're finished, you almost feel like I can't even explain it, like exhilarated, like something's happened in your brain, and it's not reality as far as what the nations, how they define morality and how it's actually innate. We all have innate moral compass, unless you're mental, okay? But generally, even prisoners have morals, right? They call what do they call it? The honor code, the code, right? Even the bad guys have some kind of code. But he talks about the fact that God has put within every human being this ability to know what is moral. But the difference would be is what does the Jewish mindset say about morality? It was very interesting. I wouldn't have thought that I would have even been interested in it. So what I'm saying is this. Don't limit the source of where God gives you His divine knowledge. I didn't know God. And my entire life, I used to tell everybody, I know God. You know God? Do you know the Lord? Right? We'd all say that. I didn't know Him like I know Him now. I knew of Him. I was familiar with Him. But I know Him now as He seeks to be known. Because, my friend, that is exactly the secret of God making Himself known to us, is that we must seek Him as He desires to be known. That concludes the shiur. Now we can get into pretty decent study on Wednesday. But today, what I'd like to point out in the first part of the class,
machines.
This is the story of how the Torah tots learned that a mitzvah worth doing is worth doing yourself. One day, all the tots were discussing ways to do mitzvot properly in the Yetzer HaTov's classroom. It always helps me when I say tefillot, to read carefully what our Rabbanim wrote.
Very good, Simi. Having kavana is the midah we can't do without. Do you have any ideas, Hardy?
I like to shout about all the wonderful minhagim, the traditions passed along. They help me make mitzvahs fun to do and keep our Masorah strong.
Minhagim help us remember that we are all members of the Torah-keeping club. Well, Talmi, you're up. Any ideas to add in?
I think understanding a mitzvah through and through is a very important part of every mitzvah that I do.
Understanding the din or the law. That's good advice for sure.
If I may chime in, I would say I count all the mitzvot I do every day. The more I do, the better I feel. Yes, I do them with kavanah, and I do them with zeal. But the numbers on my chart will astound. I do the most mitzvot every day in this town.
The most mitzvot? Bino, do you think this is the place to turn doing mitzvot into a race?
With a huff, Bino left Totsland Square and headed back to his laboratory.
If it's mitzvot Hashem wants, then I shall find a way to perform even more mitzvot each and every day. Or perhaps with a bucket, a lamp, and a dryer, I will build a mitzvah multiplier. A mitzvah machine, the likes of which there has never been. To fulfill Hashem's mitzvot with unparalleled perfection. Quicker and faster than you've ever seen.
But when Bino entered his laboratory, trouble was waiting inside.
Hello, Trouble here. I'm not really a bad guy. I'm just created that way.
Yetzer Hara, let us try an experiment. You go outside.
Okay.
And I'll lock you out.
Out of luck, Cup.
I theorized that you would say that. Okay, Hara, what's on your mind?
The mitzvah machine.
Sorry, it is not for sale. Pretty soon, Tatland will be filled with the sound of wonderful mitzvot, and there is nothing you can do to stop it.
Wait a minute, bub. You got me all wrong. I'm all for it, see? I even brought my wrench with me. The more mitzvot, the more delight. And I just think the whole idea is out of sight.
Perhaps I have been incorrect about you all along.
See? I'm not such a bad guy. And to prove that it's true, I've got another idea for you. Why stop with one mitzvah? If I recall, there are 613 mitzvot in all. We can build machines and devices and gadgets with pipes and belts and strings and hatchets and color them blue and pink, red and gold. We'll be rich. Every Torah tot in Tatsland will own.
A tzedakah de poker, McGiver be poor.
Now I won't have to ever leave my door. When a poor person knocks and he's here to collect, my tzedakah machine will make sure that he gets a dime or a quarter and then lock the door while I lay in bed and soundly I snore.
Good morning, Bino. Why, that sounds just like me. I knew you would like it, and according to my theory, I have calculated that in all Tatsland Square, there is no other who greets so many. You say good morning, good evening, good day, shalom aleichem, and hello there. It's true I am friendly, but this mitzvah is tough. When I have a sore throat or a cold, it sure is rough. Tubby, my friend, think of it no more. This Shalom Aleichem Greet Master 4 will travel the streets while you stay in bed and rest your feet. It will seek out others to greet and adieu and say Gesundheit after Hachu. Thank you, Bino. How can I ever repay? Just give me half the mitzvot the Greta makes today. Oh, okay.
Soon, all the tots had their own personal mitzvah-making machines. Bino gave Simi a Davandi Shusher that walked around shul, keeping things nice and quiet during tefillah. And he gave Hardy a Minhag Mucho Muncher that could sit at the table all day eating all the special foods prepared for Yom Tovim and Shabbat. For a while, things seemed just fine. Then the tots began to sleep late and waste all their time. Finally, one morning, when McBrucha was taking a stroll through Totsland Square, he noticed something was different.
That's strange. It's awfully quiet out here. Why, I usually run into Tubby right about now. Good morning, Baruch McBrucha. Why, good morning to Tubby. Tubby, where are you? All I see is And how are you today, Baruch McBonehead? Why, I'm just fine, thank you. McBonehead? McBonehead? Wait a minute! You're not Tubby Teva? And I've got a sneaking suspicion that the Yetzer Hara is somehow involved.
So McBrucha headed over to Talmidei Torah's house to see if he knew what was going on.
Here is some tzedakah. Now before I slam the door on your foot, take it and scram.
Oh my goodness! Something is definitely not right. I'd better see if Talmi is inside. Talmidei Torah, where are you?
I'm in the closet. Did you catch it? I'm being held prisoner by a gadget.
What? What gadget?
The Learner Midi Torah 24/7. It's programmed to learn Torah whenever it may. So it chases me around all night and day, tickling my parchment and spinning my scroll. I love learning Torah, but that machine has got to go.
So the Torah tots spent the rest of the day gathering up all of Bino Becher's mitzvah machines. And once they were all put away safely, the tots gathered in Totsland Square for a meeting.
Bino, what could possibly make you want to build machines to do mitzvot for you? I just wanted to do what Hashem wants, and that's mitzvot. The more mitzvot, the
Wire in the end, because they are missing one very important thing. A neshama, my friend.
As mayor of Totsland, I hereby decree that a true Torah tot must be all he can be. Use your seichel right from the start and do a mitzvah straight from the heart. Hashem created people. He made you and me, not robots or gadgets to fulfill his decrees.
And that's how the Torah tots learned that a mitzvah worth doing is worth doing yourself.
A special day.
One morning, as Tubby Teva was strolling through Totsland, he passed by the window of Talmidei Torah's house. Talmy was just opening his eyes and stretching his scrolls, getting ready to recite the first tefillah of the day.
Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati bechem l'raba emunatecha.
Wow! What a beautiful tefillah to say.
I can't wait! I can't wait! Today is going to be a special day!
A special day? What can he mean? I better hurry over to Mayor McBracha's office. I'm sure his thoughts are keen. A special day in Totsland? Now what can Talmy mean? Let's see. Nothing yesterday, nothing tomorrow, and nothing in between. Nothing on my calendar. What will people say when they discover that their mayor missed this special day? Don't worry, Baruch McBracha. Everything will be okay. Maybe Hardy Har Sinai has a clue. That's a great idea, Tubby. Why don't you? Go ahead, and I'll be there soon.
And off Tubby went to Hardy's house. But no sooner did he leave the mayor's office than McBracha came up with an idea.
I think I'll get on the phone and see if the Yetzer HaTov is home. Hello, Yetzer. Good morning, I say. For today is a very special day. Tubby heard Talmy declare it to be. So would you please explain it to me?
So, it's a special day.
What incarnation? I thought I dialed the Yetzer HaTov.
Thanks for the information. I declare a day of bubblegum. National Paperclip Day. Pickle and ice cream races in 1 hour, and the plastic cup parade will march through Totsland Square.
Oh, what am I to do? Talmy says it's a special day, and I'm without a clue. I know, the Yetzer HaTov hotline button. That's what I press. If I can find it here somewhere in this mess.
Meanwhile, Tubby filled in Hardy Har Sinai on the details.
The window, Talmy, special day, it was Moda'ani and calendar with notes and...
Slow down, Tubby, slow down. What's the buzz that has brought you across town? A special day, you say? Well, let me see. There are lots of special days that Hashem decreed. There's Pesach, Sukkot, Shavuot.
No, Hardy. I'm sure it's not one of those.
Well, besides the Regalim, the next special group includes Chol HaMoed, the in-between truth.
Not Chol HaMoed and not Tu B'Shvat, or even Rosh Hashanah.
Sorry, that's all that I've got.
A day that is special, Talmy declared. I'll go ask Bino and see how he fares.
So, Tubby raced off to Bino the Becher's laboratory.
Tubby Teva, I am about to test out my latest invention. It is called the Whirly Twirly Shiny Burly Special Beautiful Machine. But what does it do? That is a good question. A very good question. And the answer is something very special. Special? Why, that's exactly why I'm here. Do you know that today is a very special day? Or at least Talmy declared it that way. So, today is a special day, and I have not been made aware of this. What is so special about this day, may I ask? That's just the problem, Bino Becher. I asked Mayor McBracha, and he didn't know. Then I asked Hardy Har Sinai, but he didn't know. I thought you might know. Let me see. A special day. A special day. According to my calculations, the numbers and dates, the ink in my pen and the income tax rates, the pink, blue, and green liquids up on the shelf, mixed all together and drunk by myself. And here, in conclusion, I just have to say, I have no idea what makes this a special day. Well, what about your swirly-twirly dishevel machine? That is just a vacuum to keep my house clean. Oh, this puzzle's a riddle I must discover. What makes today more special than all the others? Then go ask Simi Sidel. He may have a clue. He's filled with tefillot to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Modeh Ani, thank you, Hashem, for waking me.
That's what Talmi said. Then he proclaimed that today is a very special day, one and the same.
Each and every morning begins with this tefillah. Perhaps it is a cluing. Why don't we walk to Tots Land Square and see how the mayor is doing?
Meanwhile, back in the mayor's office, Baruch McBracha has finally hit the Yetzer HaTov hotline button.
Yetzer HaTov, my office is in shambles. If it's true, have you a clue about what Tubby rambles? Is today indeed a special day? And why isn't it marked on my calendar anyway?
Hold it! Hold it! You've got it all wrong. Today is a day like any other day.
I've known it all along.
What makes it special comes from inside. For Talmi has learned a lesson that has filled him with pride.
I don't understand, Yetzer HaTov.
Then let me start from the beginning. Yesterday, when I saw Talmi Torah, he was feeling gloomy. I asked, why the frown? And he said to me,
It's just another day, and there's nothing to do.
I told him, listen to your voice within, and you'll know that's not true. What about mitzvot like doing good deeds, giving tzedakah, and helping those in need?
But that's nothing special, or at least nothing new. Those are mitzvot every Jewish boy and girl should do.
But you're missing a piece of the puzzle. So come along with me and peer in through Talmi's window. There's something you should see. Good morning, Talmi Torah.
Good morning, Yetzer HaTov.
I see you're grinning from scroll to scroll.
That's because there is something special that I know.
And what is so special about this very day?
Oh, Baruch McBracha, I'm glad you've come this way. You're just in time to listen to my very special plan. The new attitude I have towards the mitzvot of Hashem.
I also want to hear what you have to say.
Is this what makes today a very special day?
A new invention, an experiment in a way.
To add more kavana to tefillot, we say.
It's a little bit of everything, and all of you are right. For my scrolls declare that both day and night we must fulfill Hashem's mitzvot, but we all must agree it's much greater when we use the best of our ability.
So what is so special about today?
I think I know the answer now. When we say the tefillah Modeh Ani, it's like our neshama is giving our body a pep talk. Get up and out of bed and be the best that you can be. Make every single mitzvah a very special treat.
Do it better than yesterday with more kavana and vigor.
Have pride in everything you do, and your heart will grow bigger.
According to my calculations, this much is true. Make every mitzvah special, and you'll have a special day too.
You mean it's not International Take a Chicken Drumstick to Yeshiva Day?
No, Yetzer Hara!
Rats. This plan has gone kablooey.
Kinderlach, have a very, very special day. Every day. is my friend.
In Tots land, the mitzvot of Hashem always have something to be thankful about. And today, Tubby is no different.
Wow, I can't believe it. Baruch Hashem, I am such a lucky fellow. I am so glad and thankful to be me.
Do I detect even the slightest bit of gaiva? That gives me a taiva. Let's check out the situation and see. Hello, Tubby Tava, my little friend. What are you up to today?
I was just thanking Hashem. Oh, it's you, Yetzer Hara. Of you I've been warned. You're no friend of mine.
Oh, I feel scorned. Give me a chance. We'll chattel. Just one shot. If I blow it, I'll skedaddle.
Well, okay, but only one out.
Well, tell me all about it, friend. What's it all about?
Why, that's exactly it. You must have read my mind. I was just thanking Hashem for all my friends.
You were, huh? I mean, I knew it the whole time. So how many friends are we talking about here? 2, 3, 58, 162? I need numbers and names.
Oh, what should I do? You're right, Yetzer Hara.
Well, if you're going to thank Hashem, you should at least know how many and who is your best friend.
Golly, I thought I liked everyone equally.
And now that he's confused, I'll give it the old Yetzer Hara try. I've got an idea for you. Why not visit all your friends, question them one at a time, and see who is really at the top and who is worth a dime for a phone call. Get it?
And so Tubby accepted the Yetzer Hara's seemingly innocent advice and set out to visit each of his friends in Tots land. His first stop was the home of Talmidei Torah.
Tubby Tava, my buddy, my friend.
May I come in?
That depends. If you don't mind the mitzvah I'm about to perform, I'll welcome a guest into my humble home.
Oh, Talmi, you are very funny. I am that guest, and I thank you again, for you are a very wonderful friend. You teach me all about mitzvot. It's quite clear to me you are a great friend. A great friend indeed.
Now that our introduction's done...
Sorry, Talmi, I've got to run. What's new, Simi, my sitter friend?
I'm saying tefillo to Hashem, some Tehillim, Mincha, Avot, words of our sages.
There is so much a sitter contains in his pages.
But for you, Tubby Tava, my pages can always bend.
That's what makes you such a good friend. Well, Simi Sitter, it has been fun, but to tell you the truth, I've got to run.
Well, come on in, Tubby Tava. You just did me a great little favor. I just finished writing a poem about you and me.
How exciting! A poem about us. I'll bet it's about our friendship. Well, read it, Hardy. I can hardly stand still.
I certainly will. You and I go way, way back, and that means a lot to me. Why, it's an important part of our friendship, me a mountain, you a tree. We have so much in common, and I appreciate how well you understand me. That's what makes our friendship great.
Thank you, Hardy, for making it clear, filled with surprise. But you've already helped me make up my mind. I really must go. I'll be back another time.
And so, having visited all his Torah Tots friends, Tubby races back to Totsland Square, where the Yetzer Hara is waiting for him.
Well, Tubby Tava, have we made a decision? Take your time and hurry. No need to worry. None of your friends will find out from me that their friendship has no exclusivity.
What? What?
That's right. I assume that one doesn't know about the other. Imagine having more than one friend at a time. Why, if I were your friend, I'd be jealous and angry and feel tricked and sad, wondering how many friends you have.
Oh no, this just won't do. You mean I can only have one friend, not 7 or 2?
That's right, little friend, if I can call you the same.
I don't think you should call me by that name. If Talmy is listening...
Better make up your mind.
But how? But how?
Well, Tubby Tava wanted to do the right thing.
My friend, but I am going away. I have to visit my friend. I mean my Frankfurter at the Tatzland Deli right now.
I wonder if I offended him somehow.
Here comes Talmy Torah. Quick, Bino, you have to go inside. I don't want him to know you're visiting me. Bino, please go and hide.
No one's home.
I'm all alone.
You're my only friend.
Something is definitely wrong in Tatzland. We must bring this to an end. I'll buzz the Yetzer Hatov hotline. Hello, Yetzer Hatov? There's trouble in Tatzland.
Don't worry, my friend. I've been here all day.
Yetzer Hatov, you knew it all along.
I had a feeling something was wrong. When friendships are hidden by lies, he can't be too far.
Don't tell me he's back.
Yetzer Hara!
You called Baruch McBozo?
Yes, I did. Hey, Baruch McBozo? Baruch McBozo? Why, Yetzer Hara, I oughta...
Take it easy. You know it's his shtick. Making you mad is one of his tricks. He'll try to confuse you, so stay on the ball.
Thanks for the reminder.
Not at all.
Not you.
Gotcha again. Now what can I do for you, my friend?
Don't call me your friend. Don't give me advice. What you said to Tubby, well, it's not very nice.
Why, thank you for the compliment. Just doing my best to be a rootin' tootin' pest.
Yetzer Hatov, look at the mess we have to mend. Now all the tots in Tatzland think it is best to have only one friend.
Pretty slick if I say so myself. Friends are like treasure, and I stole all the wealth.
Take a step back, Yetzer Hara. I'm back in commission. I'll straighten out Tubby and reverse his position.
You can try, but beware. When you give up your friends, it's like saying, I don't care.
Moments later, the Yetzer Hatov found Tubby Tava all alone at home.
Tubby Tava, may I come inside?
I suppose so. I have nothing to hide.
Hide? That's why I'm here. I want to help you make amends. Why aren't you out there playing with all your friends?
Why, friends? You are my only friend, Yetzer Hatov.
No. That's not the way it goes. What about Talmi, who teaches you to love mitzvot? And Simi, who always has time for a friend? And Bino Becher, who shares all his wonderful discoveries about Hashem's creation? And Hardy, who likes you for just who you are?
Yes, I want to be friends with them, but I don't want them to be upset that I have other friends too. Isn't it better to have one best friend?
That doesn't mean you can't have lots of good friends. Anyway, best friend is reserved for only one. Kinderlach, can you guess who that best friend can be?
Gee, I have to think about that, Yetzer Hatov.
While you do, come with me. Baruch McBracha is gathering all the tots in the square for a big meeting at 3.
3 o'clock in Tatzland Square, all the tots were gathered, and Tubby and Yetzer Hatov met them there.
Ah, Tubby, I thought you'd never come. You seemed so gloom and
glum.
Oh, but I think you'll find that Tubby has had a change of heart.
That's right, my friend. I've changed my tune.
But I thought you were my friend.
Tommy, you said I was your friend.
And both of you told me that I was your only friend.
That's exactly what I have to talk to you about. The Yetzer Hara has tricked us all. Everything was fine until he came to call. All of you are my very good friends, and I don't think I would upset or offend you if I said that of all the friends I have, only one friend is my best friend.
It must be me.
I must be the one.
I hope it's me.
According to my calculations, I am qualified to be Tubby's best friend. No, fellas. My best friend is your best friend too. A friend who is always true. He watches over us, protecting us from harm. And even when you turn away from him, he'll always tag along. Now, do you know who is my best friend? That's right. He is the one and only Hashem.
And now that the Torah Tots have set it all straight, Kinderlach, I hope you won't wait. Talk to your best friend night and day.
At any old time.
And in tefillah when you pray.
And thank Hashem for all you've got.
Take it from your other friends,
The Torah Tots.
Next thing, this is my secret recipe. This is how my grandfather made the chicken soup with beef marrow bones. Now, there's a few things going on here. First of all, they're going to bring an incredible amount of flavor and dimension and richness to your chicken broth. It could be, chicken soup could be very one note. And when you add this, people are going to say, what is in there? Next, we've got our basic veg and simply just a coarse chop. So I've got 5 carrots here. I'm literally just going 1, 2, 3, right into the pot. Here are our parsnips. I actually also love using parsley root in my soup, but you can't always find it. They look like parsnips, but they're attached to the bottom of the parsley. So if you can't find parsley root, then just add an extra parsnip and an extra turnip. Okay, so onion going right in. And the next thing, lots of garlic. No such thing as too much garlic. So you want to cut the garlic, slice it top, and we don't want to be skimming off our amazing flavor and spices and herbs. Kathy Lee's favorite part is when I skimmed the schmutz. So here's when we bring next level flavor to the soup. Once we've gotten rid of all the schmutz, I can't say it enough times. It's just so much fun. We're going to put in a bunch of parsley sprigs. After that, you want about a half a teaspoon of peppercorns. We're going to strain the soup. This is going to be our stock, so I'm just going to put the peppercorns right in. You can even take it to a full teaspoon if you like it, just a teeny bit more of a kick. Now, I either use, without adding extra salt, without adding, God forbid, soup powder. Notice I haven't even added salt. This is where we let the flavors steep for 3 hours. This is when you're going to get this velvety, rich, golden, deeply flavored soup. All of the collagen and the gelatin in the bones is going to melt into this soup to create that luxurious, velvety broth. We're not salting now. For a girl who loves her kosher salts, not now. There's no way to know now what's going to be 3 hours from now. So let this be, relax, go do your thing, make some matzo balls if you want, or go pick up your kids from school. Gentle simmer, and in 3 hours, all we're going to do is season to taste with salt. Here is my chilled matzo ball mix. We're going to drop matzo balls into a pot of simmering water so that I have them all ready when I'm ready to serve my chicken soup. If you want the recipe for my perfect, every time, best ever fluffy matzo balls, and you want to know my secret ingredient, you have to watch the video on our YouTube channel. 3 hours later, here is when you finally get to taste the soup and then adjust the seasoning. I really find at this point, it just sometimes needs just a good pinch or two of salt, but of course, less or more according to how you like your soup. We're gonna turn off the heat, and we're gonna do step 2 for crystal clear chicken soup. Step 1 was the schmutz, step 2 is the strain. You can either use a fine mesh strainer, or if you want to go a little crazy, you can even line it with cheesecloth. So don't freak out here. Do not feel bad at all about straining out the vegetables, the herbs, the chicken bones here, guys. Everything in here has done its job. All of the vitamins, all of the nutrients, all of the flavor has been extracted. Nothing left for it to do except to spoon out the marach, the marrow from the marrow bone, to just spread on bread like butter. This is the building block for amazing chicken soup, amazing braised dishes, chickens, brisket, meats, roasts. You want to make your rice with this instead of with water. That will bring loads of flavor to all of your cooking. Now, the next step, this is step 3 for crystal clear chicken soup, is to go ahead and put this overnight in the fridge. Now, you certainly can serve it now and have nice, warm, fresh soup, but I happen to think a night of relaxation in the fridge, all the flavors marry. It further intensifies and amps up that flavor. And what you can also do is then skim off, once it's cooled, all of the fat that has congealed and rise to the surface. And then you've got that ultimate crystal clear chicken soup. My kids adore their chicken soup with alphabet noodles and diced carrots, but I want to show you how to take your best ever chicken soup and serve it really, really elegantly for the holidays or for when company's around. So angel hair pasta in the bowl, and then I'm taking gorgeous julienne zucchini, carrots, and daikon. And this is raw. And the second you put the hot soup, look how thin and gorgeous it is. The second you pour the hot soup on top, they're going to cook and be perfect. Here is this beautiful chicken soup with matzo balls, angel hair, julienne veg. This is my best ever chicken soup made from my heart for you. If you want more classic Jewish recipes, you have to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really want to cook with you and for you. Can't wait. Gotta make sure the bling looks good for the chicken soupy. Hey. Can't make chicken soup without that.
So like this?
And Kathy Lee's favorite part is when I skim the schmutz. I think she just likes saying the word, but either way, I think she would, bleh. Okay, I'll just do the whole thing again.
Yep, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Blah, blah. But the cheesecloth is like next level. Okay, are you seeing all the drip? So I want to, sorry. Okay. Nothing left for it to do except, like I said, spoon out the marach, as we call it, the marrow from those marrow. Tell me when. For more classic Jewish recipes, you have to subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Open my lips to sing your praise. my heart to feel the joy.
Welcome. Today we're going to learn how to make challah. Do you have a recipe of your mother's that's just like your family recipe? Well, challah is the Jewish family's recipe. Our mother, Sarah, made challah. It's much easier than you think. Now, a lot of women are intimidated by this process, but I'm going to tell you something. If you try it once, you're going to be addicted, and your family's going to be addicted because it just cannot compare to anything store-bought. Now, when I make Shabbos, I can buy chicken, I can buy rice, but I cannot buy challah, and I'll tell you why. Because what I put into the challah is more than flour, and it's more than oil, and it's more than eggs. It's every prayer and every drop of love that I have for my family and every deep desire that I have for the Jewish people, all poured into this bowl, served up on a platter. So, welcome, and I'm going to tell you the recipe, and we're going to get started. 4 tablespoons of yeast, 3 tablespoons of salt, 2.5 cups of sugar, 8 cups of water, and an entire 5-pound bag of flour. Give that a mix it up real good, and then I want you to add another 1/3 of a bag of flour. This is not an exact measurement, and if you're a more exact person, I apologize. Otherwise, just put in 1/3 of a bag, and soon you'll know what feels right. After you mix that up and let the flour absorb the water, just go ahead and pour in 1 cup of oil. Now your challah is ready. Mix it up, and I'll tell you what comes next. Today my friend Janet came to join us. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Riff. How are you?
Good to see you. We've had fun setting this up. Janet, what's your Hebrew name?
Gila Chaya.
Okay, we're going to do Gila Chaya for this special time. Now, Janet makes challah at home. This is not new to her, and you probably have your own amazing recipe.
I do have a recipe. I make challah every week, and this week I'm actually part of a group of 40 women making challah on behalf of another person.
Oh, it's amazing. Did you know that challah has healing properties? It actually does. In the old days, it said in the ancient books that if someone was sick, you would make a bread special for them and serve it to them, and that was a way of healing. So it's really a labor of love. And as we add each ingredient, we say a prayer. So we're going to start with the yeast. Can I get the yeast? And this is 4 tablespoons of yeast. And yeast is what makes the challah rise. So as we put in the yeast, let's give a prayer, please Hashem, that we should be able to rise in abundance and to our best selves, and that our families should be able to literally rise to the challenges that are sent our way.
Amen.
Amen. Now, we have the water. Go ahead, you want to do the water? I'm going to...
Sure. That was 4 cups?
Yeah, so I'm going to put in another 4 cups. And this water, it's warm. It's not terribly hot. You don't want to kill the yeast. You want to make sure that your water is lukewarm. You can test it out. There you go. It's just right.
Thank you.
Nice. This is so exciting. Yeah. So that's the oil. And all right. And now for the sweet. Don't get scared by how much sugar we're going to put in. This is a very large recipe. So very large recipe calls for a lot of sugar. You want to go ahead? I'll pour it in. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah. Go ahead. 1 cup. 2 cups. And 1/2 a cup. You know, a lot of people grew up with the Judaism that was all about gefilte fish and matzah and big family seders that everyone couldn't wait to get home from. But, you know, we pray when we put in the sugar that there should be sweetness in our Judaism, sweetness in our lives, and all the good blessings that Hashem sends to us should be revealed good. We know that everything Hashem does for us is for the best, but we should be able to feel it with this sweetness. And that's our sugar. And now our flour. So if you just want to pour this in, I already measured it. Oh, did I forget the salt? Okay, here's the beauty. You can forget whatever you want as long as you remember it. This recipe is very, very flexible. So over here is 3 tablespoons of salt. And I would recommend being very specific about measuring your salt because that's one ingredient. You know, the sugar, I let it overflow a little, the oil, but the salt's got to be just right. 3 tablespoons. And the flour.
This is actually 1 whole bag of flour, right?
Yep. And then we're going to add 1/3 of a bag of flour. There you go. All right. There you go. It's nice if the flour can absorb the water without the oil, but I put the oil in first by mistake, and it's going to be delicious. Go ahead. You want to put in that 1/3? This is 1/3 bag of flour. Yeah. There you go. You know, bags of flour, they're all different. Some, when they settle, are 15 cups. Some are 19 cups. So it really depends. And I do use King Arthur flour. It's just better. So only the best for Shabbos. There you go. Now, if you take a look at this, you'll see that the challah is not even close to ready. And that's because if I would put my hands in it, it would just be a big gooey mess, right? So that means more flour, please. That's the beauty, or if it makes you crazy, the crazy part about having an exact recipe. But I only give you the best, and it's the best recipe I got. Go ahead, put it all in.
All the rest.
There you go. Jenny, you want to mix?
I'm just going to take off my rings.
Okay. It's a big enough bowl. Now comes the fun part. You got to sing while you mix. Nisham, you want to mix? Yeah. All right. Joyful. Wow, that's what the world needs. A little more joy, a little less sadness, and a little more Jewishness, and a lot more challah. All right. You know what makes challah a special mitzvah for a woman? As much as we put into the challah, and we're doing that right now, what we really do when we do the mitzvah is that we take out something. You know what we take out? We take out that part that says, it's all me. We take it out just like this. We're going to do the mitzvah, and we say, it's all you, Hashem. Everything is Hashem. Everything is from you. Every blessing is from you. Every challenge is from you. And everything we have is just to serve you. That's in the mitzvah of challah. That's the kind of stuff you want to serve to your family.
So now we've finished kneading our challah and we've oiled it. And what that means is that we've put a little oil in the bottom of our bowl, and we took the challah out and we put it back in, and then we flipped it over just to make sure that during the rising process it doesn't dry out and it doesn't stick to the bowl.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. So now comes the most important part. This almost the most important part, and that's letting the challah rise. Right?
Right.
Okay.
You can't scrimp on this.
No, you really can't. That's why you start challah early in the day. So 2 ways to do it. One, make your challah Thursday night. Let it rise in the refrigerator. Friday morning, it'll be perfect for you. Just let it get to room temperature or braid it, and then you're good to go. How do you let your challah rise?
So I have an extra sunny room in my house, so I take my nice bowl that I made my challah in, oiled, everything done. I put some plastic wrap over it, and I stick it in the nice sunny room for a long time. And I like to keep it between like 78 and 82 degrees.
No. You actually know how many degrees?
I do.
Okay. That's amazing. That is just amazing, Gila. You know, everyone has their secrets. I remember this girl told me that her mother wraps it in blankets and puts it under a bed. I'll tell you what I do. It might sound ridiculous, but maybe you'll want to do this too. I just take all the dough and I flip it into a garbage bag. Now, first of all, the garbage bag, I first flip the garbage bag inside out so there's no pesticides or chemicals on it. And also, that way, I have a bowl that I can clean right away instead of it getting crusty. Now pay attention, because then I take the garbage bag and I bring it outside, sunny place, right?
Okay.
And then after having a few too many squirrels attack my challah, that wasn't really good, I take the whole garbage bag and I put it into a briefcase, a really thick backpack, and leave it on the patio to rise. It's very funny, like once or twice, just the briefcase looked like it was about to explode. But the thing is, it's got to really rise in order to be
Right,
challah.
it needs to be hot.
Like how long would you say?
I let my challah go for 4 hours.
So do I. Yeah, if you're desperate, you can do it for less. And I know this recipe still tastes good, but it won't taste light and fluffy. It'll taste
Joey.
yeah, and heavy and fluff and delicious. Okay. So now comes the big moment. We have over here tzedakah, that's charity. It's always good to give charity before you do a mitzvah, because when you give, that opens up the gates of heaven to also be giving towards you, and it just brings down blessings. We did that part, and now we're going to make our blessing. Ready? So here's how it goes. Take a piece of challah. Do you want to make the blessing? Go ahead.
No, you can do it. I'm
no,
sorry.
you do. I want you to.
Okay.
You're my guest. But
I
today
can't
we're going to be
believe
making
you're giving
challah.
it for me.
I love you. Okay. Right hand, just go for it. And I'm
Okay,
going
is
to
this
just...
enough?
Yeah, that's
How
good.
much would you say?
About the size of an
Okay.
egg. And you want to take it with your right hand, hold it up, and have the intention that this is your challah.
This is my challah, and I'm going to pray quietly to myself. Okay, amen.
Amen. And the bracha, have a book over here.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להפריש חלה.
Amen. Okay, so what do we do with this challah? Here's what we do. We just put it into a piece of tin foil, and this challah is not kosher. You know why? Things that aren't kosher means they're not yours, they're not good for you. This challah is not good for us because it doesn't belong to us. So what do you do with this? You just throw it in the oven and let it burn. So now I'm cutting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nice. If your dough is good, it should be pretty easy to roll out your ropes. And they're not gorgeous. Actually, that is pretty gorgeous.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
A lot of times my challah ropes are just lumpy, and it all tastes the same, and it all looks beautiful.
But this is like a really nice, smooth dough.
Yeah, that really is.
Turned out nice.
Nice. It's going to be different depending on the weather. Some weather, today's a pretty warm day, so the dough's just coming out
And
beautifully.
it is hot in the kitchen.
Yes, I'm getting hot. All right. So we're going to make 6 braids today, and that's because if you have 2 challahs and they each have 6 ropes, that makes 12. And in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, a long time ago, there was 12 loaves of bread. So that's what that represents. You can also make, oh, thank you. You can also make a classic loaf with 3 ropes, and that's beautiful too, because if you've learned Torah, you know that everything comes in 3s. We have the 3 fathers. We have the world standing on 3 things: Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasadim. That means the world stands on Torah and prayer and acts of kindness. So here we have our 6 braids coming together. Oh, that's gorgeous. This one's all done, ready to roll. So here's my challah in the pan, and what I need to do now is let it sit for about an hour. If you don't let your challah sit after you've braided it, basically what you've done is you've squashed down all those beautiful little air bubbles that the yeast made. So they need time to form again, and it's just going to take about an hour. What I like to do, and this is just a little tip, is turn on the oven for 1 minute, and I set the timer so I don't forget. Put the whole pan in, turn off the oven, and let it sit in the warm oven for an hour, and then it's ready. Are you in a hurry? So coming up, we're going to do a video showing you how to do 6 braids and how to do 4 braids. And I have no idea how to do 4 braids, so Janet's going to show me. And I do a different method of 6 braiding that seems to be a little easier than yours. So I'm going to show you how to do
yours
that.
is so much harder.
Wow. All right, we're going to have to debate on that. This looks incredible, by the way. So now I'm going to egg the challah, and I already egged it quite a bit. And that just makes it nice and shiny. And you can put all kind of treats in your eggs. Some people like to put vanilla. Some people like to put cinnamon all over their challah, or sugar, or kids that are allowed to babysit my challah on a Friday to see if it's done. All right, let's see how they're doing. Oh, gorgeous. Check it out. Now, I'm taking this challah out, even though it's not ready, just so that doesn't happen to you, what sometimes happens to me when my husband cuts it and it's dough inside. Now, how would you know that such a gorgeous challah is actually not ready? 2 ways. First of all, right in between the braids, if you press down, it really is doughy. If you're a crazy girl, you can do this and check the bottom. Usually, if it's ready, the bottom will look just like that. But hang on, I just said it's not ready. That's because we made a 6 braid and it's really high, so the bottom has to be ready. And I'm also going to give the top about another 10 minutes. All right? You know, by making challah, we're coming back to who we are. Like, did we get lost? Where did we go? I'll tell you where we went. We got busy. Along the way, someone decided that we're too busy to make challah. When we take the time to put the love, the prayers, the delicious ingredients into challah, we take back our womanhood, we take back Shabbos, and we bring it back to our family. We slow down and we say, this is where we want to be busy. In this kitchen, in this home, building a Jewish family. This is where we're going to put our efforts. And everything else, we don't have to be too busy with that. Not too busy to do what matters. Good Shabbos.
Reshit Dangat. This is a introductory reading book for Hebrew using the Spanish and Portuguese pronunciation.
I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to Beit Midrash Meir. I hope that you'll take advantage of everything that we have to offer and come learn with us fascinating Torah insights and really intellectually stimulating concepts. Beit Midrash Meir is opening its doors to you in your language to make everything that we're teaching here accessible to you.
בית מדרש מאיר, יהדות בשפה שלך.
Hi, welcome to Roots Meir. I'm your host, Yehaska Lang, and we're honored to have with us today Rabbi David Aaron, the founder of Israelite, an international organization based in Jerusalem's Old City. A best-selling author and educator, Rabbi Aaron has written 8 books on joy, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment. Welcome to the show, Rabbi Aaron.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Good to have you here. You have really built up an incredible organization, an international organization, which has helped a lot of people. What inspired you to do all this?
I would say I think everybody has a definitive moment. My definitive moment was when I was a child. I woke up to my mother screaming. And my mother was a Holocaust survivor. And I thought that she was having a nightmare of the concentration camp. Now, my mother was the type of survivor that never spoke about her experiences. I just knew that something horrible happened to my mother and that my grandparents were murdered and my uncle was murdered. And
because they were Jewish?
Because they were Jews. And there I was lying in bed. My father quickly calmed my mother down, and my mind was flooded with questions. Questions like, is there a God? And if there is a God, is he good? And if he's so good, then why is this world so bad? And if we're the chosen people, then I wish he chose somebody else. And I just had all these questions flooding me, and I just woke up in the morning, and I I didn't have anybody to turn to. I didn't feel I could talk to my parents who were new immigrants, my mother from Poland, my father from Russia. I didn't feel I could talk to my teachers at public school. And I didn't really do well in Hebrew school. I didn't like Hebrew school. I was forced to go 2 hours a day. My parents one day told me that I'm part of the chosen people and I've been chosen to go to more school. So, so what do you do?
How did you respond to that?
Well, yeah, so what do you do when you've got all these questions and you have nowhere to turn? So what I basically did is I ran away from my questions. And I had two escape valves. One was rock and roll. I just kept turning up the music louder and louder. In fact, one of my favorite albums said on the front of it, for best results, play at full blast. And it's true, I got the best results. I bought myself a stereo system with 2 speakers.
Yep.
When I went to bed, I would literally rock myself, hard rock myself to bed. And so I would go to a lot of rock concerts and got myself into a rock band, and everything was just loud music. And then my other escape valve was comedy. My father loved comedy, and my father used to listen to this psychologist comedian, and I overheard one joke from this record that my father used to play over and over again, where this comedian said, if you keep laughing, it's been clinically proven that you'll never get an ulcer. And so I decided that I would just be funny, and I would be the class clown, and I would never be serious, and I didn't get an ulcer, I got a hernia. So
how old were you when your mother was screaming and you woke up?
I don't remember. I just remember being just bombarded with questions. I was an incredibly questioning kid. So, I always tell people that all these books that I wrote, I didn't write them because I wanted to write a book. And I wasn't being so altruistic that I was trying to help people. I was just trying to help myself. And so all the research that I've done, and I think the reason why people very much resonate with what I have to say, is because the questions that they have are the questions that I've had, and some of them I still have. And my life has been a journey, and I've been trying to heal myself and inspire myself and find a path.
One thing I seem to feel about most people is they don't ask the big questions. They're not interested in knowing where they came from, what the big purpose is. They're interested in their day-to-day lives, and they don't want to think about these big questions.
Well, yeah, I think we have created a culture that has successfully helped us become comfortably numb. It was what I was trying to do as a child. I think the culture is doing a great job in trying to help us. I think much of culture is a large tranquilizing pill. And a lot of entertainment is very much to try and distract us from what we really need to do and address to really be happy and to really find love and meaning in our lives.
Why are people so afraid to find answers? Why do they not want to, get in touch with themselves?
I think part of it, I can say for myself, I didn't believe there were answers. I didn't believe I could get any answers. So if you don't believe there's answers, then why go look for it and allow yourself to be annoyed constantly with these questions?
You had a reason not to believe that there are answers. You had the Holocaust to deal with, and what could justify that? Other people don't have the Holocaust. Why do they believe that there are no answers?
Well, because the news is generally bad news. I have a friend who worked in a news studio, and he came up with this great idea called 5 minutes of good news. It didn't go. Nobody liked it. And so everybody, what goes on the headlines is generally bad news. So much of culture is constantly in our face, the tragedies and the catastrophes and the horrible things that happen in the world. It seems to be that is more common than, but what about that beautiful flower? And so I think a lot of people are in pain, and I think a lot of people have somewhat just hope to just get through life. Also, there's a lot of stress. People are trying to make it, and people are trying to make a living. So practically, what will all these philosophical questions and answers really offer me in life? I got to make a living. That's what I thought when I was a kid. I thought, one thing I knew for sure, I need money. So even though when I was a child I wanted to go into acting, everybody said to me, well, nobody's good. What's the chance of you being an actor? So I decided, well, I don't know what I want out of life, but what I do know is I'm going to need money for whatever it's going to be. And so I actually decided that I'd become an accountant. Now imagine, if I would have been an accountant, I probably would have killed myself at some point because I'm so not an accountant. Right. So I think a lot of people really feel very practically, and it's very legitimate, that I don't have time for this spiritual stuff. I don't have time for answering the needs of my soul. My body needs right now have to come first. And so there's something very legitimate about that struggle.
So we can ask the question, why does God put us in this situation which distances us so much from Him? He puts us in a place, we need to make a living, we need to take care of our families, we need to do A, B, and C. We don't have time for these big questions.
Well, that has to do with the answer to these big questions. Because part of the answer to these big questions, and this deserves a show on its own, is that it's about living a higher awareness in this real world.
Right. Is that possible?
Absolutely it's possible, right? Absolutely it's possible. And not only that, I don't know any other way out. You know, we've got to find meaning in the everyday. And if we wait for meaning for those magical moments, they're rare. But it's not like that. I believe, and I've experienced, and I've actually, through the teachings of Torah, I've discovered a real daily way of practicing a sense of awareness and a sense of fulfillment in the everyday. You know, we've got this beautiful verse, B'chol darchecha dehu, in all your ways know Hashem, know the divine, know God. In all your ways, not in special, not just meditating on a mountain or running away to India, but every single day can be an experience of the miraculous and the mysterious and the inspirational.
That is amazing. That's a beautiful thought. When was your moment of change? I mean, we know you had so many problems with the Holocaust and the big questions. When did you start getting answers?
Well, I don't even remember who. Must have been maybe Eliyahu HaNavi, some, you know, like I don't know, but like God sends these messengers. I don't even remember who, but somebody said to me that Wednesday night there's these classes for teenagers in a synagogue in Toronto, where I come from, and they do classes about life and Torah. None of that interested me until they said, and there's girls. And I went, oh, okay, there's girls there. And so being a teenager, I said, why not? So I went there, and it was great. There were about 100, 200 kids there, and there were these different options of classes you could take. So I was looking at the list, and one of the classes was introspection. And right away, I knew that's where I had to go. Because I was the class clown. I was the guy, I was the escape artist, and I knew that I wasn't looking in, but I was running away. And so I knew I had to go to that.
It required a lot of courage to make that choice, didn't it? Or
well, I saw a girl walk into it that looked pretty attractive, so I thought, well, in the meantime, you know, introspection might be, you know, a rewarding experience.
God used the carrot instead of the stick to pull you in.
That's right. It did work. So I went in there, and I was surprised because the fellow presenting was this young, hip, funny, charismatic guy. And what was really strange is he had a kippah on his head. He had tzitzit sticking out of his pants. And he was happy being Jewish.
It's almost as if you didn't hear a word during the entire talk, but you saw this image in front of you of a person who could live in both worlds at the same time at peace.
You know, I wasn't happy being Jewish. I wasn't proud being Jewish. I didn't feel it was so chosen to be Jewish. I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood. I was the only Jew in the school that I went to. I was beat up for killing Jesus, and I told them I don't even know the kid. I never played with him. You know, I didn't feel it was a tremendous gift to be a Jew, and there was nothing to be happy about being Jewish. And I see a guy who, you know, is a respectable, you know, kind of a guy, modern guy, and he was happy, and he was genuinely proud, and I could see he was intelligent.
Right.
And so I don't remember what he said, but I do remember that I felt that this man actually might have some answers to my questions.
Right. It's amazing how much of an effect we have on other people that we're not even aware of. I mean, I don't know if he ever knew the effect he had on you, but that is incredible. You met this special person. You started to feel proud about your Judaism.
Well, so what happened was I went to these classes every week. In the end, I didn't meet a girl, but it became something that was more important than that. And they told me that they were doing this Shabbaton, this Shabbat experience with 200 kids out of town, would I like to go? So I said, okay, why not? Sounds really interesting. So I had this awakening moment, because before Shabbat they did this candle lighting service where all the kids got together. There were like hundreds of candles on a table. And before we lit the candles, we were singing and dancing, and then all these kids went up and started lighting candles, and I lit this candle. And I said, you know what? I've never done this before. Right. And yet, this seems so familiar. I feel like I've done this before. And then I had this moment where I realized, a flash to the rock concerts that I was always going to. Because my favorite moment in the rock concert was when thousands of people would hold up a match. And there you were in this stadium, thousands of people holding the match. I understand today people hold up their cell phones, but this is a desecration of traditional rock and roll. I don't know what to do about that.
Yes. What can we do?
What can we do, the generations? And I realized that was a ritual. And that ritual was a way of acting out that I feel that I'm a flame and that I yearn to be part of a greater fire, a greater light. Right. But you know what? I didn't find it in the rock concerts because I wanted to connect to a power greater than myself. I wanted to connect to a community beyond myself. And at the end of the rock concert, everybody just disappeared, you know, and there wasn't a community. There wasn't this lasting feeling. And here I saw this is something that people do every Friday, where they take out their light and they connect it to not only the community Jewish people, but the historic community Jewish people. For so long, millions of Jews were connecting their souls and acknowledging themselves as part of a greater soul, a greater light.
Right, but if people are so interested in connecting and being part of a community and connecting with God, then why do we live in a generation which is all about me, me, me? We're so much involved with individualism, self-expression, careers. It seems like people really don't want that kind of existence.
No, it's actually not the case. You have to remember that when I was at the rock concert, I wanted to hold a match.
Right.
It wasn't like I was willing to just watch everybody and melt into the light. I also wanted to also be holding a light. We live with this dialectic, which we can address at another time in a deeper way. There's something about us that needs to express our individuality. Just as our fingerprint will never be replaced and repeated, so too our soul print on the planet and in history will never be repeated. And we sense a responsibility to express what's unique about us. On the other hand, we are unique individuals that are anchored within and part of a greater collective whole. And therefore, there is this dialectic and there is this beautiful oscillation between the desire to affirm individuality and yet the desire to feel part of community. And it's really like music. It's like a string on a guitar. The sound is because it oscillates between two extremes. Those extremes are actually complementary opposites. And when you learn to be able to move back and forth very gracefully between the need to express individuality and yet the desire to feel that you're part of a greater whole, that's that balance, and that there's tremendous joy in that.
That's a beautiful, beautiful metaphor. It's fantastic. All right, I want to thank you very much, Rabbi, for joining us. I want to thank you at home for joining us, and I welcome you to join us next week. Thank you.
Hello, Shaltiel. Hi.
Why are we here? It's a good question. In 1940, the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America because he could no longer stay in Russia or Latvia or Poland. And his purpose for coming here, and the reason that he had to come here, is because it was time to bring Hasidus to the other half of the planet. Yiddishkeit, Torah, Hasidus all existed on the upper half of the planet. Now it was time to bring Hasidus to Chatzi Kader HaTachtin, to the lower half of the world. Somehow, if you look at the planet, if you look at the globe, it's all sideways. Eretz Yisrael is at the top, the north, and we are at the bottom. So it was time to bring Hasidus to the Chatzi Kader HaTachtin, to the lower half of the planet, of the globe. And the question is, what does it mean to bring Hasidus to a place? Obviously, it's not enough to print a Tanya. You go to a place, you print a Tanya, you brought Hasidus to that place. That's certainly not enough. It's not even enough to have a few people who sit and learn Hasidus in that place, although it's a good beginning. It's not even enough to translate Hasidus into the language of that place, like English. To bring Hasidus to a place means that the thinking of a Chassid, Hasidic thinking, becomes the norm in that place. Not something exotic, not something foreign, not something imported, but it becomes the thinking of that place. It becomes the norm. Now, obviously, in order for that to happen, you really have to understand in your mind, with your intelligence, and in your words, what Hasidus is saying. And then you can talk about it like casual conversation. There's still some work to be done in that direction, to bring Hasidus to this part of the globe. And that's part of our purpose, is to get together and talk Hasidus in a language that everybody understands. So that Hasidus becomes the norm, the standard of thinking in America. For everybody.
Tanakh study is the opportunity to study the book of our identity.
Spending time reading the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
A great way to study Jewish history
is exhilarating. It's one of a kind. Our connection with Am Yisrael, our connection to Eretz Yisrael.
It's a great way to start your day.
It's a great way to learn.
An exciting opportunity.
The foundations of a Jew.
Foundation of our faith.
Paradigm for Jewish education.
Inspirational, motivational.
Tanakh study has found a way to bring our history to life.
Tanakh study is a program that was created to study the entire Tanakh and see the text in the framework it was presented to us.
This is something unique, historical, and amazing.
The Tanakh is the history of prophecy and the direct connection between the Creator and the crown of His handiworks, man.
The Tanakh study is one of the first initiatives in the community to really bring the people back to the basics.
Tanakh study consists of daily emails with the Perek of that day.
The actual Perek, to a voice recording, to an English translation, to a 20-minute podcast, and it really gives you the full gamut of tools to be able to learn one Perek a day.
If you listen to just one of the classes for a few minutes, you'll see that We read the Hebrew pasuk, we translate it into English, and then there's an explanation of the pasuk. There's historical perspective, perush hamilim, meaning of difficult words.
כתוב, חז"ל אומרים, יגעת ומצאת תאמין. היגיעה והעמל והנכונות ללכת עד הסוף, בלי פשרות.
The rabbis and teachers that cover each book, they're really excellent. They explain it very clearly. They give insights that you can't get just by trying to read it yourself.
כל פעם שאני ניגש ללמוד פרק בתנ"ך, אני מוצא בו דברים חדשים שלא ראיתי אותם בפעם הקודמת.
Our ability not just to study what happened in the past, but to apply that study and learn the message of the Nevi'im, what God wants from His people.
It's not only a program that has an online archive of different classes from rabbis and Torah scholars. They also have in-person classes where you get to have a one-on-one relationship with these teachers.
Allowing people to see that Tanakh is accessible, Tanakh is inspiring. Tanakh changes the way that they look not only at the psukim, but the way that ultimately they look at life.
Seeing multiple generations doing Tanakh at the same time. So my father, my wife, my son, we all did Yehoshua together.
Learning Tanakh, perek by perek, spreading Tanakh throughout the community and now throughout the world.
This is the goal that Jesse had in mind. To transform people's lives, their families, and the community to be infused with the study and the message of the Torah.
Tanakh study is really built for a beginner student, for an intermediate student, for an advanced student. For someone that never saw the text, you're seeing the text, you're seeing every single word.
Anyone who has a love to Tanakh, and it doesn't make a difference what your level is, and it doesn't make a difference if you've read through the story 10 times or if you've never heard the story.
The program is portable. You can listen whenever you want, wherever you are. Best traveling companion I ever had.
It's perfect for anyone, not just a pediatrician, anyone who has a busy schedule, who doesn't have the time but is on a subway or is driving to work.
I do a lot of my Tanakh study on airplane travel. I've learned Tanakh in over 3 continents, 7 countries, car rides, whenever I have the opportunity to really just sit and spend some time with it.
I would do it literally on my way to work. I would put earphones in and listen or read it on my iPad.
I never thought that I'd spend the time to do this, but they really took the hurdles out of the way. I can listen to it when I want and how I want it. The teachers are great and interesting, and it's just short enough where I can digest on a daily basis.
The Bible. I highly recommend it, and it's a great read. I read it every week.
We will be providing you with daily classes, pasuk by pasuk, to listen to on your iPhone, on your way to work, to complete and understand all of Nevi'im and Ketuvim together.
I cannot believe how it's spread. I meet people and they say, oh, I listened to your parak in Tehillim, or I listened to Daniel, or have you heard of this guy? He's been teaching Ruth. Whatever it is, it's unbelievable to see the different walks of life that are getting involved in Tanakh.
לימוד התנ"ך חשוב עד מאוד. רבותינו, תנאים והאמוראים, וחכמי הראשונים, בין בספרד, בין בצרפת, בין באשכנז, היו בקיאים בתנ"ך.
קודם כל אני רוצה לברך את כל מי שישתף בתוכנית. יישר כוח גדול. לסיים את התנ"ך זה דבר מרגש ונפלא.
להפיץ לימוד התורה, להרחיב את גבולות הקדושה. וה-40 האלה שלומדים הם גם מלמדים עד שמגיעים לכ-1,000 איש.
It's the story of how we became a people, and it's what we're all about. That helps form our purpose in life and give us a striving goal and what our values are.
Tanakh is the foundation of the ethics of justice that we have in the world today, that we strive for in the Western world and the modern world. And he deeply believed in the impact of Tanakh, not just on Jews, but on the entire world.
יש בלימוד תנ"ך ההתהלכות בתוך האינטימיות של בית השם. שבתי בבית השם כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם השם ולבקר בהיכלו. שיש פה אנשים שהם תלמידי חכמים בתנ"ך, שהפסוקים שגורים על פיהם.
You can understand the true godly messages which shape history and also shape your character.
By learning Tanakh from Yehoshua to the end of Dvrei Yamim, it really gave you the ability to really understand Jewish history through the eyes of the Tanakh.
Tanakh study has opened so many doors for this community, whether it's studying simple pshat, encountering scholars from all over the place that had never really visited the community before. Going to Minyan in the morning and learning a little section in the morning gives me a big sense of accomplishment every single day.
שיש משהו בתורה שהוא איזה עמוד שדרה של קהילה. היא הופכת להיות עדת השם, קהל השם, ויוצרים קהילה שהיא עומדת בברית עם השם.
We have an all-star lineup of teachers who are now going to go ahead and teach us all of Chamisha Chumshei Torah from Bereshit through Devarim. We'll study every single story, every single pasuk, every single word in its context, parasha by parasha, 6 days a week, and walking into Shabbat having studied the entire parasha.
We're starting a new year, and it's really a golden opportunity to start a new endeavor, to start learning Chumash from the beginning of creation, from the beginning of our nation, and to move forward with a group of like-minded people, enhancing your knowledge, enhancing your connection, and continuing to grow.
Over the years, we've all been part of the parasha. We've all learned Torah on a weekly basis, but now really setting time aside and focusing through the Chamisha Chumshei Torah is a very exciting experience.
With the new year, you always want to do something new and take on a commitment, so I'm happy that they're starting now the Torah part. That's something now I could sink my teeth into for the coming year, so I'm excited about that.
Starting from Torah, from the beginning, is something that is so important for every person in this community. This is the basis of everything that we live and we believe. And so to have a comprehensive way of getting that knowledge and of doing it on your own time and at your own pace is vital for your life.
Chumash is the basics. Tanakh starts with the Torah. This is something that we need to have in our community and in the world.
Going through Chumash in the same way we did the Nevi'im and Ketuvim is very exciting. Seeing the whole thing completed through Tanakh study is a great feat.
I look back on a wild venture that we set forth on to bring Tanakh to the entire Jewish world through an internet platform. Today, I look back and I see over 100,000 classes downloaded and studied by Jews around the globe. Today, I congratulate all our Misaimim, and right now I'd like to invite everyone to come participate in our next venture.
Join us. Learn Chumash. Open your world.
Join us in Tanakh study.
We need 20 to 30 minutes of your day, and we will deliver to you Torah.
I'd like to invite you to embark on the next stage of the Tanakh study.
I want to see you at our next event.
Let's get on this journey together and start learning Tanakh.
Now's the time.
The study is contagious.
It's going to be a great ride.
Now is the time to join TanakhStudy.com.
ובעזרת השם תמשיך ככה, לא רק בתוך הקהילה. לך יש כוחות גם שתוכל בעזרת השם להרביץ תורה ולהגדיל תורה גם במקומות רבים.
יהי רצון שחפץ השם יצליח בידם ויזכו להפיץ את התורה, וליהודים הייתה אורה ושמחה וששון ויקר. היא כתיבה וחתימה טובה לכולם ולכל בית ישראל. נזכה לשנת גאולה וישועה בשובה ונחת. אמן ואמן.
Songs, cartoons, and DIY fun for the whole family. It's the Shaboom Channel. Shaboom! It's an animated series. It's DIYs, sing-alongs, and tips for parents.
Shaboom! Let's fix the world.
It's Shaboom! Shaboom!
Shaboom!
Subscribe! Y'all gotta subscribe!
Shabbat Shalom!
So good evening, everybody. It is such an incredible joy to be here with all of you tonight for part 2 of the 5 books in 5 weeks. And sadly, my brother, Rabbi Yaakov Wolbe, is not feeling well today, and I'm happily taking his stead from the 7 to 8 slot and we'll do the regular 8 to 9 slot as well tonight. And then in a couple of weeks, when we're going to be finished with the 5 books in 5 weeks, he'll be able to do a double header in the Jewish history to catch up with the 5 millennia in 5 weeks. So, I just want to do a quick review. Last week we established that the type of book the Torah is not a book of laws. It's not a history book. It's not a story book. And it's not a book of recommendations. The Torah is a book of life. It's a book, a manual for living. You want to know how to live life? When a baby is born, last I checked, I may be wrong, but it isn't born. You're an OB, right? Tell me, is the baby born with a manual? No, right? It's not born with a manual. So how do we know how to raise that child? How do we know how to have a successful marriage? How do we know all of the incredible things that we need to learn throughout our lifetime, sometimes through trial and error? Well, the Torah tells us exactly how to maximize life. So that is, the book of the Torah is the book of life. Now, we established that there are 3 different elements there. Really, I would say 2 different elements of the Torah. There's the written Torah, and then there's the oral Torah. It is impossible, and we've established this last week with multiple examples, it is impossible to observe the written Torah without the oral Torah. If you don't have the oral Torah, you don't understand fully the written Torah. It is impossible. You cannot fulfill the written Torah without the oral Torah. Because the written Torah tells you what to do. And the oral Torah tells you how to do. So yeah, the Torah tells you to put a mezuzah on your door, but it doesn't say what a mezuzah is. And it doesn't say what should be in it. And it doesn't say what portion should be in it. It doesn't say what side of the door it should be on, etc., etc. Just a beautiful idea if we're already talking about a mezuzah. You know that in halacha, we never have a compromise. There's no compromise in halacha. One side is right, and we follow that ruling. The other opinion can also be right, but we don't follow their ruling. Right? Well, you don't have, you say that the sukkah should be 20 feet, and they say it should be 10 feet. Let's just make a compromise, 15 feet. No. No such thing. It's either 10 or 20. Okay? Mezuzah, there are 2 opinions on mezuzah. One says it should be completely vertical, and one says it should be completely horizontal. So which one do? We put it on a slant. What are we, compromising?
Yes.
Yes, we are compromising. And our sages, in their infinite wisdom, right, taught us that specifically when you walk into a home, if you want to know the key to success in that home, look at the mezuzah. It's a compromise. It's a compromise. If you want to have success in a home, you need to have compromise. My Rebbe, one of my rabbis, would say that having a difficult roommate, this is back in yeshiva days, having a difficult roommate is an omen, a positive omen to have a good marriage. Right? Because you need to learn how to get along with someone who's not exactly your flavor, someone who's not exactly your style, someone not exactly, who thinks the way you think. Guess what? You're going to be married one day, and you're going to have to share a home and a life with someone who you don't see eye to eye with. And it's fine. It's perfectly okay. Okay, but you have to learn how to get along. Okay, so that's the mezuzah, the small lesson. But how would you know how to slaughter an animal? We know that in order to eat meat, right, it has to be from a kosher animal, and it has to be slaughtered properly. What's a kosher animal? Split hooves and chews its cud. Both of those conditions. And then it has to be slaughtered properly. How do you slaughter it? Doesn't say. Right, so go figure out how to slaughter an animal on your own. And other hundreds of examples from the 613 commandments that we don't just know from the written Torah. We need the oral Torah to explain it. And there are verses in the Torah that refer to the oral Torah as being that unwritten document that will have to forever be attached to that written document. So the obvious question is, if it's meant to be not written, so why do we have over here a beautiful set of Talmud? And that's the written Torah. I mean, the oral Torah written. Why? If it's supposed to be oral, let it remain oral. And the reason is because Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the author of the Mishnah, he recognized that his generation, the people were going to forget the Torah. They were going to forget the connection between the written and the oral. He said it's an emergency. We need to start writing it. And he didn't just write, item number 1, item number 2, item number 3. He wrote it in the most magnificent way, in the most engaging way, and in the most eloquent, obviously, but with making certain assumptions so that you learn how the system of Torah works. Now, last week, we gave out these sheets. If anybody online does not have it, you're welcome to email me. Anybody here who does not have it, do you have a copy, Jay?
I have.
Right?
I do.
Anybody over here that did not get one last week? You can just look at it. I just want to help you understand how the system works, the system of the Torah. Okay? So as you see up here, you have the 10 commandments, the 2 tablets that were given to the Jewish people. Right? Now, one of those tablets has the laws between man and God, and one of them, that's the first 5 commandments, and one of them is the laws between man and man. Now, it's very interesting. I saw once, someplace, they put 4 commandments on one side and 6 commandments on the other side. Because in their ignorance, they didn't realize that honor your father and mother is not necessarily a commandment of honor, of a mitzvah, a law between man and man. It's a commandment of between man and God. Because we all know that the Talmud tells us there are 3 partners to man. 3 partners to man. Who are the 3 partners to man? The father, the mother, and God. Right? There's the father, the mother, and God. Not having the proper respect to the father and the mother is a disrespect to the whole union of the father, the mother, and God. All right? So that's why it is placed on the side of laws between man and God. Then you have the laws between man and man. And we'll see this when we get to Exodus. We're going to talk more about this. Then you have the section here in the darker green. And the darker green section, you need some more? Here's some more. Pass them around. There you go. Okay, so the next section here is the written Torah. And the written Torah, the written law, is comprised of 24 books, the 5 books of Moses, right? You have the 8 books of the prophets and the 11 books of writings. Now, anyone familiar with the book of Esther? Well, that's one of the books. You have the Song of Songs, that's one of the books. Ecclesiastes, if you look on the right here, we have the list of all the 24 books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's the 5 books of Moses, right? Then you have Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, the 12 prophets, and we have that all listed there. And that's considered one book. You also have the writings, which is Psalms, Proverbs, Job, Song of Songs, Ruth, Lamentation, Ecclesiastes, Esther, Daniel, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Chronicles. So those are the 24 books of what we call Tanakh, the written Torah. Then comes the oral Torah, the blue section, right? And the blue section here is the first part of the oral Torah. I'm going to give you an example that if you've been to one of these classes before, you may remember, but I'll just refresh your memory, hopefully, if you have any doubts. So, if I ask you the following question, tell me what you understand. Okay? So when are we going skiing? No, I'm just asking. No, I'm not about that. Just us. When are we going skiing? Right.
Time you go.
There you go. Right. But when someone asks such a question, there's an assumption, right? I'm saying, so when are we having dinner? What dinner? I have no idea what you're talking about, right? So the way the Mishnah first begins, the first Mishnah of what we call the oral Torah, the oral law, begins with, from when do you begin saying Shema in the evening? Right? That's making big assumptions. What are the assumptions? That you say Shema in the evening. Right? And that's exactly the way the Mishnah writes it in that code, making all of these assumptions. By the way, correct assumptions. And then the Talmud's job is to now attack those assumptions. And the Talmud needs to resolve how those assumptions are accurate. You're going to bring a verse from the Torah. So what happens is like this. Here we go. We got the Mishnah. And the Mishnah is going to be asked by the Talmud, what are you talking about? When we say Shema in the evening? You're making assumptions. Who even said we say Shema in the evening? Oh, there's a verse. Where's the verse? We go up the chain in the Torah. The Torah tells us that you say Shema in the evening. Understand? So then the Talmud concludes that discussion, and then you go down to the third level here, which is the purple section, which is halacha. Halacha is the conclusion of those discussions. Right? And that's how Judaism is now. Today, if I came to you and I said, you know what, when you walk into synagogue, you have to clap your hands 3 times. Right? So you know what your question should be?
Who said that?
Why? Well, tell me where. Show it to me. Don't allow anybody, and that's one of the rules we have here in this class, is that I don't always provide the source, but you're always welcome to ask for it, and I will share it with you. But don't assume that just because someone says something that it's correct. Investigate. Find the source. And if it's truth, you'll have a source. If it's not truth, you'll know. So, in halacha, it's very, very important to have a source. If you look on any page of halacha, whether it's the Mishnah Berurah, which you have over here at the bottom, you have the Shulchan Aruch, you have the Rambam, you always look at the outside edges of the page, and you'll see the source to where they got this source from, where they got this ruling from. So after the Talmud goes through each discussion and each conclusion, that's where the halacha is derived from. All right? We're good? So we understand the process and how the Torah laws work. Anybody who tells you that the rabbis made up these rules has to do a little bit more learning.
Definition of halacha.
Halacha is the way we actually observe the law. Okay? So, I would say, even you could say it's the code of Jewish law. But the code of Jewish law isn't the first document. It's the document that's after the Torah, the written Torah, after the oral Torah, and after all of those discussions, that's how we arrive at halacha. This is the conclusion. So technically speaking, you could open up a book of the Rambam, which is the first book of, and you'll see some of the Rambam's history in Rabbi Yaakov Wolbe's five millennia in 5 years series. He'll talk a little bit about Maimonides and what a controversial figure he was, because he was the first one to put the conclusion of Talmud in an organized fashion known as halacha. Right? And halacha is, the Rambam was the first, and then you had a couple hundred years later, you had the Shulchan Aruch, and just as recently as the early 1900s, we had the Chafetz Chaim author the Mishnah Berurah, which is like even more bottom line what you need to know today. Right? And there are many other books we have here in the magnificent library, like the Sharei Halacha, like the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, where you have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves up, which gives you, from wake up to go till sleep, and including holidays, including kosher, including all the laws that can possibly be observed today, you have in those book of laws. Any questions?
So where does the Gemara fit in?
That's the Talmud. The Gemara is Talmud.
So I always thought that the Talmud was divided into the Mishnah and the Gemara.
It is. Right. The Gemara is Aramaic. It's an Aramaic word for Talmud. All right. So the Mishnah is on its own. If you'd like, I can show it to you. I'll just 1 second to our friends on Facebook. Okay. So here is a Mishnah. I'll get the same one. So you'll see exactly. Okay, so here we go. So we have over here like this. We have the Mishnah. You see the Mishnah? Beautiful, beautiful edition of the Mishnah. And we have the Talmud. Okay? This is the Mishnah on Shabbat, on the tractate of Shabbat. And this is the Talmud on the tractate Shabbat. So in the Mishnah, right, we'll start with the first Mishnah in the tractate. And it says, Yitziot Shabbat, it talks about the different types of entrances and exits that you have between domains. Okay? That's the Mishnah. The Talmud now that we're gonna look at begins exactly with those same words, because he quotes the first Mishnah, and then we'll spend, here you go, Yitziot Shabbat Shtayim Shehin Arba. You have the exact same Mishnah right here, and then it gets to a point where it starts the Gemara, which is the explanation on that Mishnah, the investigation of that Mishnah. Okay, and the Talmud here spends good, say probably here you go, 11 pages, 11 Talmudic pages, understanding that first Mishnah. Exactly. And then you have on page 11, the bottom of page 11, you'll have the next Mishnah. Okay, from here, from this Mishnah, it'll be quoted, and then the explanation of the Gemara or the Talmud. Okay, so that is the way to understand how the Talmud is explaining the Mishnah. And you have the Talmud right here. It's backwards to our friends online, I'm sorry. And then you have the Mishnah. So every word of halacha needs to be backed up with the conclusion of the Talmud, which is explaining a Mishnah, which is based on the Torah. It always goes up in that order. You cannot just make up rules. Rabbis don't have any authority to make up rules that isn't based on Torah. It must be based on Torah. Okay? And there needs to also be between the rabbis a unanimous consent. Okay, but that's we could talk about a different time. Okay, so that's part number 2. Part number 3, we said, with the different names of the Torah, we said there's Torah, there's Chumash. Chumash comes from the term Chamesh, which is 5 in Hebrew. So now you know a Hebrew word, right? Chamesh, right? Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, chamesh. Okay?
That was good.
Okay. So that's the Chumash, which is the 5 books. And then we have the Pentateuch, and we know that in Greek it is the 5 scrolls. Right? Now it's very interesting to be called the 5 scrolls, because really the Torah is one scroll. Right? The Torah is not divided up into separate scrolls. But okay. We spoke about the themes of the Torah. The themes of the Torah, first we see is that the Torah is, I have a joke, but it's not, I'm going to leave it for after class. All right?
Nah.
What?
Come
on. Okay.
Come on. Tell us.
All right, so what type of phone did Adam have? Apple. Okay? So,
But that came from Michelangelo.
Okay, but I'll tell you something. Okay, before we start part 2, I'll give you another one. Okay, so we have free will. Okay, we have free will. We have reward and punishment. We discussed the common sense is a given. Right? It's like common sense is the baseline. Right? The Torah doesn't teach you common sense. Right? Common sense is a gift that God gave you in your mind, in your brain. Think. Right? Use common sense. The Torah doesn't teach you any commandments that are common sense. And there's no exception. Okay? And we also discussed why there are no warnings, seemingly no warnings to some things, right? To how is it possible that Adam, Cain, and Abel, Noah's generation, the Tower of Babel, right? They weren't given warnings. How can you punish them? Because there's common sense. Okay? Something which seemingly is missing in our generation. Common sense, okay? Life lessons. It's not stories. It's not a storybook. I can give you interesting storybooks. The Torah is not a storybook. The Torah is a book of life. Now, I would, and this is again an encouragement we spoke about last time, I encourage you to read the Torah cover to cover. And then know it. And study it and learn it. Right? It's not enough to just read it. It's not a New York Times article. It's life. Another thing we discussed was prophecy. It's the foundation of Jewish life. Future history is mapped out through the Chumash. It's timeless. It doesn't have a beginning or an end. And lessons of complete devotion and dedication from our ancestors, the patriarchs and matriarchs. We also have it's a unique book because any person at any level can understand it. A child understands it at the child level. An elder understands it at an elder's level. A seasoned scholar will understand it at his level. And it's not like, Curious George book. It's like there's nothing really to learn from it. It's like it is what it is. Well, not the Torah. Every time you learn it, you see something else. Every time you learn it, it's a whole different perspective. It's a whole new layer of understanding. Which is why we need to increase our reviewing of the Torah as we grow. That's why we do it every year in shul. We go through the entire Torah because you're constantly in a growth. You're constantly a bigger person, a better person. Learn it now, you'll see new things. Learn it next year, you'll learn new things. You learn it the year after, you'll learn even newer things. Okay? Who's the author? So we know God. God is the author. Right? There are certain facts that are impossible for Moshe to have known. There are certain promises that are impossible for any human being to make. Right? We discussed the accuracy of details. There's a clear transmission, the word of God through the hand of Moses, who is dictated by God. And all the Torah scrolls that are written must be written from an existing Torah scroll. And if there's a mistake in the Torah, we also explained that it may not be used until it is fixed. Okay. So now let's continue on our new part of this series. And that is as follows. Why doesn't the Torah begin from the commandments? Why does the Torah start with the creation? And we'll see this shortly. Why does it start? Let's just get to the point. Tell me what to do and finished. Do you want to hear something amazing? Rashi picks up on this right away. The first question, Rashi, the greatest commentator on the Torah. The first thing, can you pass me the Rashi Chumash right there, The red book, yeah, Bereshis. Perfect, excellent. Thank you so much. What a magnificent library. So, thank you so much. Let's see the first Rashi. This is amazing. Okay. In the beginning of, right? The Bereshis, in the beginning. Rabbi Yitzchak said, God need not have begun the Torah, but from this month shall be for you the beginning of the months, which is the first real commandment given to the Jewish people. But, okay, why? Because it's the first commandment, which Israel was commanded. What is the reason that he begun the book of Genesis, right, from the beginning of creation? What do we need it for? Give us the commandments. Mishum, it began thus because he wished to convey the message of the verse. Koach ma'asav higid liamo. The power of his acts, he told to his people. Laseis lehem nachlas goyim, in order to give them the estate of nations. She'im yomru umas ha'olam liYisrael, so that if the nations of the world will say to Israel, Listim atim, you are bandits. Shekvashtem, because you conquered Artzos Shivagoyim, you conquered the land of the 7 nations who inhabited the land of Canaan. Heim omrim lehem, Israel will say to them, Kol ha'aretz shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu hi. The whole earth belongs to the Holy One, blessed be He. Hubra, He created it, unasana, and He gave it la'asher yashar be'enov, to the one found proper in His eyes. Birtzono nisana lahem, by His wish He gave it to them. Ubirtzono natlo mehem, and by His wish He took it from them. Unisana lanu, and He gave it to us. So Rashi here, this is the first Rashi. What is the most disputed land in the entire world? Israel. Right? Rashi goes on it right now. And Rashi wrote this 800 years ago. Rashi's telling us, you know why the Torah needed to start from the beginning? Because there's going to be a time where you're going to have the UN. And you're going to have all of the nations who are going to say, what? It belongs to the Palestinians. It belongs to this and that, right? This ignorance is not one of just today. It's ignorance of millennia. Where the nations of the world have always been disputing the Jewish right to the land. That's why the Torah, the universal Torah, begins from the beginning. Who's the creator of heaven and earth? Well, God is. And God decided who should get the land. And He said it should be the Jewish people. And therefore, it is the Jewish people. So the whole reason we have the beginning of the Torah, according to what Rashi says here, is to inform us who owns the land. That's it. The end. The beginning. Obviously. Right? But so we start from creation so that God can gift whatever He wants to whomever He wants. All right? Now, what is the biggest challenge that man has in this world? What is the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge we have is staying focused on our life's purpose. That's the biggest challenge we have. Whether it's good times or bad times, the challenge is always, how do I stay focused on my purpose in life? And that's the Torah. The Torah is here to be our guide, to get us to maintain that focus on what's important. That's why we're here. And the closer one is to Torah, the more focused they'll be. The more we distance ourselves from Torah, the more we wander. And the more we're all over the place and can't find, why are we really here? Okay. So, I think there's one more point that we need to understand here, and that is that the purpose of all of the mitzvahs is to perfect mankind. That's why we have the mitzvahs. It's given to us so that we perfect ourselves. So why do we need 613 commandments? Right? Give us a few. You need 613. So our sages tell us, Because how many commandments are there that are positive? 248. Very good. And how many prohibitive commandments? 365. Corresponding to the 248 limbs and organs and 365 veins, arteries, and sinews. So every mitzvah that we perform, we're perfecting a part of our existence. And, God willing, on our Musar Monday class next week, we're going to be touching on this as well. We're going to talk about the topic of how to forego an embarrassment. Someone embarrasses you. Someone insults you. How do you overlook it? Right? And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to discuss how that relates to perfecting your essence, your body, and your spirit. But every single mitzvah that we do corresponds to part of our body and brings about perfection to it. Okay, so now I know we're doing 5 books in 5 weeks, right? And it's a speed through the Torah. But guess what? We're not the first to say, teach me Torah while standing on one leg. Right? We know that there was a soon-to-be convert who came to Hillel, who came to Shammai first, right? And asked Shammai, I believe, if I'm not mixing them up, right? Asked Shammai, can you teach me Torah while standing on one leg? So he shooed him away. Get away. Standing on one leg. So he went to Hillel. And Hillel says to him, Al da'aloch sani al tasa l'chavro. What is disliked upon you, don't do unto someone else. Right? What does that really mean? What does that really mean? If you don't want something done to you, you don't like it when it's done. You don't like when someone embarrasses you. You don't like when someone insults you. Well, you don't like when someone leaves you out. Well, you don't like when someone doesn't give you credit. You don't like when someone ignores you, right? So don't do that to someone else. How does that relate to the whole Torah? I understand, but we're talking about godliness. We're talking about bringing offerings. There are a lot of different components. That is it.
Loving your neighbor as yourself.
But that's not what he said. He said, don't hurt your fellow. Don't do something that you hate to someone else.
That's different than love, right?
So I think that it all boils down to a relationship with God. Right? God doesn't do to us something. Right? It means God does for us only things that are good for us. Do you want to know the essence of God? Do you want to know it all on one foot? All stand. God only does good for you. God doesn't want to do bad for you. He only does good for you. So if God does only good, does He do bad for us? He doesn't do bad. God doesn't do anything bad. There are things that God does to us that we may perceive as being bad because we're weak in our faith, because we don't understand the full picture. It's like, imagine you see someone chopping down a tree. You're like, why are you destroying a tree? It's a beautiful tree. Why are you destroying it? Well, we're gonna. If you stop right there, it looks like a terrible thing. You're destroying creation. But they take that tree and they make it into wood and they build homes so that people can live. And there's a lot of great purposes. The paper that we print on, right? This was once a tree, right? So there are a lot of great purposes. So you can't just look at one part of a story without understanding the full extent of it. So when it comes to the mitzvah of don't do unto, or this message of don't do unto your fellow what you don't want unto yourself, that is the idea of God doesn't do unto you anything that He doesn't want done to Himself. Don't ignore God, right? Don't do things harmful not to that relationship, right? It's all about the relationship, right? Don't do something that's harmful to your fellow. What's the greatest relationship on earth? Who loves us more than any other human being on earth? God. Right? Just like you don't want to hurt somebody else, don't hurt the relationship with the Almighty. So in essence, what Hillel is telling him here is that you want to know what the Torah is in one step? Relationship. Standing on one foot. It's all about relationship. All of Torah. Now you know it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through now. We're going to begin. You know what? If you want, we can take an early break now. This is the end of the introduction. All right? And then we're going to begin in about 5-10 minutes. We're going to begin the first part of the Torah. And we're going to go through all of Genesis, hopefully in the next hour. So we'll stop here for a coffee break. We'll stop for snacks. And then we will resume very shortly with Genesis. All right? So our friends online, we'll see you shortly.
It's Hanukkah, and I've got a song I want to teach you. So it's down the rabbit hole we go. Welcome to Jewish Music Toronto. I'm Al.
Shabbat Shalom. Bring it on home. Shabbat. Sparking you. Helping others is what we do. Down we go. Rainbow. Shabbat. Setting sparks to glow. Magic within and world. Shabbat. Here to fix the world. Shabbat. 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 Shabbat Shalom. Gabby and Raphael fix the world in Welcoming Sparks. Gabby? Are you here? Hello? I found you! Why didn't you answer the door? Sorry, Raphael. I was reading my book. I forgive you. Especially if I can have a yummy muffin, too. Oh, that's my surprise. I made muffins for us to share. Don't mind if I do. Oh, no! I can't. There are only crumbs left. Oops. I guess I ate them all. Surprise. Hot chopped jelly beans. It's the Plooniscope calling. Jaboom! Something is up down at the Plonies. Look! Cousin Yasmin has come all the way from Israel to stay with the family. Just in time for Shabbat dinner.
Anyone home? I told them I'd be here for Shabbat dinner. Maybe they forgot. Or maybe they went on vacation?
Diggly doorbells, our favorite family needs help. Why aren't the Plonies answering the door? Yasmin doesn't feel welcome. I think the Plonies need a lesson in Haknasat or Him. Haknahuza? That's sure hard to say. Haknasat or Him. It means welcoming your guest. Let's try it. Say Hakna. Hakna. Haknasat. Haknasat. Or Him. Haknasat or Him. Haknasat or Him. Together. Haknasat or Him. You got it. Time to shine, Sparks. Let's fix the world. Shaboom!
Can't catch me, Ben! Out of my way! No way, Mama! Turbo Ben is gonna mop your socks off!
God's landing. Do you think Mama and Ben Plony heard us? People can't see or hear us, Sparks. Remember, Raphael? Right. We help fix the world, and no one knows we're here. Boy, that video game is loud. No wonder they don't hear the doorbell. I can't even hear me. What?
Root boop da da. Zip dingity dang dang dong. Lover, not a fighter.
Check out my dance moves, Gabby. Check out my dance moves, Gabby. Not now, Raphael. We've got to help Yasmin. Shaboom!
Maybe a lion got out of the zoo and chased them away. Or maybe they forgot about me.
Oh no! Yasmin feels unwelcome. The Plonies need to use Haknasat or Him. I know how to help Papa Plony. Ear the doorbell. Shaboom!
Whoa! So loud! Let's see who's ding-donging that doorbell.
Hi, Papa Plony. Shalom, Lila.
Hello, Yasmin. Not so, loud.
Papa Plony's giant ear heard the doorbell. Spark 5.
No Spark 5. Papa and Lila are still too busy dancing to make Yasmin feel welcome.
Watch out! Look out!
Hi, Mama. Hi, Ben. Can I play?
Oh, you're coming up behind me. You're not gonna pass me.
No, not yet.
Oh, hi, Yasmin. Not yet. Booyakasha!
This isn't right. Mama and Ben should turn off their screen and pay attention to Yasmin.
Dance party!
Dance party in the house! Woo!
And Papa and Lila should stop dancing. We'll have to make Yasmin feel welcome ourselves.
Let's start by putting away her suitcase. Wow, did Cousin Yasmin pack an elephant?
An elephant doesn't need a suitcase. They have a trunk. Shaboom! I'll put it here.
No, it goes over there. Shaboom!
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 Shaboom! Ay, ay, ay.
Cousin Yasmin, when did you get here?
Shabbat shalom, Yasmin.
Welcome to our home.
Rafi, they greeted Yasmin. That's being a good host.
I'll turn off the video game so we can talk. We can play it together later.
Thank you, Ben. You're a good host.
I'm a good host, too. You can play with Dagwood. He's a good dinosaur.
Ben turned off the screens and Lila shared her toys.
Thank you, everybody. I feel much more welcome now.
Uh-oh. Someone's tummy is hungry.
Then it's a good thing it's time for Shabbat dinner.
Shabbat! This today's theme. To welcome guests is what it means. Greet your friends at the door.
Invite them in, share toys, and more. Don't forget to turn off your screen. Shabbat!
Here you go, Yasmin.
That simmus and challah smells good. Just the way Shabbat dinner should.
Now that is Haknasat Orchim. Way to go, Sparks. We helped fix the world.
Ah, spark magic. So may it be next week.
I sure didn't make you feel welcome today, Raphael.
It's okay, Gabby. Next time you'll remember Haknasat Orchim and make me feel welcome.
Next time is right now! Shaboom! Shalom, Rafi. I greeted you and turned off my screen. And now I'm sharing a plate of fresh-baked muffins.
I definitely feel welcome now. You're a good host, Gabby.
And that is Haknasat Orchim. Shabbat shalom. See you next time. Won't you come closer? It's no fun being alone with a cold.
Avram, today we're going to cover a very, very unique and special lesson that for some reason, after all these thousands of years, I never heard the language approached this way before. But as we're new students, we're trying to read Hebrew words. And when we get the Hebrew words, they're a conglomeration of many, many letters. Unlike English, where the group of letters are a word, Hebrew may have as many as 4 words grouped together in one word. In other words, 4 expressions of speech in one word. So how do we as new people, as new students, as beginners, begin to decipher what part of the word is the actual main word and which part of the word is prefixes, things that precede the word as a preposition, to or for, as an owner of the word, my or him or her, and which letters come in between letters of the main primary part of the word. So this lesson now is essential for people learning how to read. This very, very essential lesson will help us to be able to break down and identify the words in the structure. To begin with, we have 23 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Most people say 22, but we'll see why. We're going to make shin and sin two separate letters. Right? So that, because they'll be different in what functions they serve. A Hebrew word is made up pretty much, especially verbs, is made of what they call a shorish. It's 3 root letters that convey a primary meaning. Like if it's Resh, Aleph, Hey, the primary meaning means it has something to do with the eyes and seeing. If it's Kaf, Taf, Beis, it has something to do with writing and letters and inscribing. If it's Lamed, Mem, Dalet, it has to do with learning and teaching. If it has to be Dalet, Beis, Resh, it has to do with speech. That's called the shorish. The shorish is the primary part of the word. Before the shorish, you can have prefixes, such as a prefix letter meaning and, as a connective, or lamed meaning 2 or 4, or you can have a prefix in the future tense of the verb to tell you I, you, he, she will do something, or you can have an ending after the word to say I, you, he, she did do something in the past. That's all put and combined into one word. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get to the shorish because we want to know the primary meaning of our 3 root letters. So that's where this comes in handy now. Let's look here. We have 4 categories of letters. The 23 letters can come in one of 4 different categories. They can be only root letters. That means the 3 letters that you're looking at convey the primary meaning of the word. 2, the letter can be either a root letter or it's a prefix. It comes before the root begins. Category 3 are letters that come as a prefix or a suffix or a root letter. And category 4 come as a prefix, a suffix, a root, or what we call an infix. These letters can enter in between 2 root letters. Only these letters, we'll see in a minute. So let's look now at our categories. 12 out of the 23 letters in the Hebrew language, that's more than half, can only be root letters. So when you see them in a word, you know that you're in the root of the word. You can't use them for anything else. And those letters, the category A here is Gimel Daled, Zayin Chet Tet, Samech Ayin, Fei, Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, and Sin. Not Shin, Sin, can only be root letters. If you see them in a word, you know one thing for sure. I am talking about a root letter that's part of the body of the word that's conveying the essential meaning of the word. Now, second category has 4 letters in it that of course can be root letters because every letter of the Hebrew alphabet can be a root letter. 12 can only be root letters, but every one can be a root letter. But second category, besides being a root letter, if it comes at the beginning of the word as a prefix, it can either be a root letter at the beginning of the word or a prefix. You have to see from content and logic. Aleph at the beginning of the word is a prefix meaning I will. Every word in the Hebrew language that says I will do something, singular, first person, masculine and feminine, every single verb that begins with Aleph, it's going to mean I will. Beis at the beginning of the word means in or with, as a preposition. Lamed at the beginning of the word means 2 or 4, and it's the sign of the infinitive. The infinite form of the word that doesn't have time in it. It's just trying like to walk, to run. It's a picture of what's being done. And shin, not the sin. Sin was only one function as a root. Shin now also functions as a prefix meaning that of which. So Aleph, Beis, Lamed, and Shin. If they're inside a word and there's already been a letter from category A, the root letters, and now you have Aleph, Beis, Lamed, and Shin after that, it's got to be a root letter. If Aleph, Beis, Lamed, and Shin precedes the other letters in the word, then it can be a prefix or it can be a root letter. Category 3. There's 5 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Oh, let me add a point. You can see if Aleph, Beis, Lamed, and Shin are not a prefix, then they're a root letter. So that makes now 12 plus 4, 16 of the 23 letters of the Hebrew language are almost inevitably root letters. They are inevitably root letters, except for Aleph, Beis, Lamed, and Shin doesn't have to be the beginning of the word, even though it can be. So 16 of your 23 letters are already considered to be root letters in the Hebrew language, almost without fail, except for those 4. The category C, 5 of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, Hey, Kaf, Mem, Nun, and Taf, they can be a root letter, because anything can be a root letter. At the beginning of the word, or at the end of the word, Hey, Kaf, Mem, Nun, and Taf usually aren't root letters, but they inflect the word. They make it a noun, they make it a verb, they make it feminine, they make it masculine, they make it singular, they make it plural. And finally, you have the last category, which are Vav and Yud. They're like wild cards. They can be a prefix, they can be a suffix at the beginning, at the end, or they can even come in between 2 root letters to inflect the word, to give it a special meaning. Or they can be root letters. This part of the learning is essential for a person who wants to start reading, to be able to look at a word and say, hey, that letter has to be a root, that letter can be a prefix or a suffix, that letter can be an infix, that letter I can identify my letters. And now when I look at a word, I'm no longer looking at a word as a complete statement of something. I break it down to its parts. I can pick out my root, I can pick out my suffix, I can pick out my prefix, I can pick out my infix, and I can start reading and consciously identifying and translating words in a knowledgeable way, rather than having to guess or being completely lost in this conglomerate of letters which I don't know what they're doing for.
So what are these here?
Those are the infix letters. Vav and Yud, right? Can do anything. They can be a prefix, they can be a suffix, they can be a root, or they can be an infix. They can come in between root letters and give the root letter a special meaning, right? Only those 2. Nothing else can come in between root letters. That's our first lesson in Aleph Beis.
I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, an Israeli man is stabbed in a terror attack. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, an Israeli man is stabbed in a terror attack in Gush Etzion. Israeli airstrikes are reported in Syria, and we hope you're ready to shop until you drop, because it looks like Walmart is heading to the Holy Land. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. For the first time in history, Saudi Arabia is allowing flights headed to Israel to fly over its airspace. This is the first real example of warming ties between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and is the welcomed result of both Prime Minister Netanyahu's recent trip to India last month and Air India's insistence. Currently, the only direct flights to and from India from Israel are run by El Al, but because of the detour around the Saudi kingdom, the trip typically takes about 8 hours. Air India's newly approved New Delhi to Tel Aviv route will take less than 6 hours and will undoubtedly be cheaper as well. With at least 3 hours less spent in the air, that means less fuel and more savings that will likely be passed on to consumers. Air India has already been in contact with the Israeli Airport Authority and is expected to gain approval to open flights for booking as soon as March 20th. But for passengers hoping to stay on El Al, don't expect the prices to drop for you just yet. The Saudi overflight airspace privileges have not yet been extended to the Israeli flagship carrier. All right, another brutal stabbing attack has been reported near Jewish homes in the West Bank. The victim is a 34-year-old Israeli man who was working as a civilian security guard at the entrance of the Karmei Tzur settlement near Hebron.
Palestinian terrorists tried to attack and stab the guard in the entrance to Karmei Tzur, which is in a residence in Gush Etzion. The guards shot the attacker and he was killed.
Israeli security forces tracked down the suspect's family to the nearby Palestinian city of Halhul for interrogations. Riots quickly broke out around the family's home, however, prompting the army to use crowd dispersal measures. One of the rioters was arrested in the clashes, and this stabbing comes less than 48 hours after another similar attack in the West Bank settlement of Ariel. That suspect, a 19-year-old Arab Israeli who once lived in Yafo, is still at large and is a prime suspect for the murder of Rabbi Itamar Ben Gal. Thousands have just gathered to mourn the death of Rabbi Itamar Ben Gal, the 29-year-old father of 4 who was murdered by Palestinian terrorists in the West Bank earlier this week. Israelis from all over the country convened in the rabbis' community of Har Bracha. This tragic murder was felt all over the country, made even more painful by the fact that the rabbi's suspected murderer, a teenage Arab Israeli who lived in Yafo, is still at large.
אנחנו נקים כאן בהר ברכה עיר בישראל.
In an ironic if symbolic twist, Palestinians were actually burying one of their own just a few days earlier, not so far away in the Palestinian city of Jenin. Hundreds, if not thousands, marched in the streets to mourn the death of a 19-year-old Palestinian teenager who had apparently been shot dead by Israeli troops. The incident occurred during an IDF raid in the West Bank pursuing suspects related to last month's murder of Rabbi Raziel Shevach. The victim was one of hundreds of rioters protesting the army's presence. The IDF says they had used only non-fatal riot dispersal means to break up the crowd, but the Palestinian Health Ministry says the man was killed by a gunshot to the head. Well, Syria has just accused Israel of launching a wave of airstrikes on a military outpost just outside of Damascus. Though the Syrian army claims to have deflected all of the attacks, other sources say at least some missiles did hit their targets, and the site in question is linked to a key research center believed to be producing chemical weapons. Though Israel has neither confirmed nor denied this attack, the IDF is believed to have launched dozens of airstrikes against Syrian targets over the last few years. This, coupled with growing tensions with Israel's other neighbor to the north, Lebanon, has sparked growing anxiety about a possible incoming war. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has actually just visited the northern border to issue a threat to Israel's enemies.